Good morning, Mustafa.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you.
The most
Well,
famous sentence in or question in last year. Can you hear me?
yes, but there is some interesting survey. What is the most common question? Can you hear me? Can you see me? You're on mute or something like that.
It's a close call between those few. Like
Yeah,
it repeats all the time.
definitely. How are you? Are you okay? What is the weather in Sarajevo?
Oh, it's not as cold as it was a few days ago, but pretty gloomy today.
Okay. Uh, I wanted to make some introduction for you, but I realized that I will spend 15 minutes on that. So
Okay.
even though we are really good friends, uh, that is not a good idea, especially if I start to counting your books and your awards and etc. etc. So I suppose that 99% of people who are on the online event, this online event, know who you are, and I will not spend time on that. I will say stage is yours because we want to learn more about containers today, because that is something interesting that we will be forced to know in coming years, definitely.
Yeah.
So stage is yours. Feel free to learn us something new.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, so we are going to discuss containers in Azure. There are multiple options, different things. Quickly, a few words about myself. Most people, at least in Belgrade, know me, but we are like online and someone else might be watching. So my name is Mustafa Toroman. I come from Sarajevo, Bosnia and Herzegovina. I work as a solution architect with Authority Partners, which is a US company. Last few years, I've been working with American enterprise companies, most of them Fortune 500, building cloud solutions for them. Here's also my Twitter handle. If you feel that I can assist you in any way, feel free to reach out. I've been Microsoft Azure MVP for this is 6th year now, I think. Very certified in Microsoft technologies, wrote several Azure books and blah, blah, blah. Let's not waste time on that. Let's start talking about containers. So before we begin, I like to, many times when I discuss containers, people are not familiar with the idea and how it works. So let's quickly remind ourselves how and why. So why containers in the first place? What is the idea behind containers? So we want to avoid scenario where it works on my machine. Containers are there to make this scenario where we have where we carry environment with us. We don't depend on things that are local variables, environment. So we are eliminating that part from the equation. We want every environment looks the same, and that is precisely what containers do. They make every environment look exactly the same because we are carrying configuration and everything together with in the container image. We want to increase velocity and we want to run it anywhere. Now, this last part, run anywhere, is particularly interesting in this era of cloud. Why? Because many people are concerned that if they decide to go with any particular cloud provider, is it Microsoft or Amazon or Google, they're gonna get locked in. They are gonna choose different services. They're gonna start working with specific services that are kind of unique to that cloud provider. And if they decide that they don't like something there anymore and want to switch cloud provider, they're gonna get locked in. Containers are the way to eliminate that threat. Containers are the idea of you can pick it up and basically deploy it to any cloud, to any environment, and it will run just fine. So containers can run anywhere. They can run on Linux. They can run on Windows. As you already mentioned, any cloud is a good option. And also there's a support for drones, Raspberry Pis, IoT, basically any device is suitable to run containers. So anything with the operating system, we can basically find a way to deploy container on it. Now, what is the benefit of containers compared to virtual machines? Now, when we look at the virtual machines and how they actually work, there are only a couple of things that are shared between resources. So basically, we have an infrastructure which is a shared resource, and on top of that, we have a host operating system and hypervisor. Now, infrastructure is shared between the virtual machines that we're going to deploy, but every virtual machine is going to have its own operating system, its own bins and libraries, and its own application. So basically, everything on the virtual machine level, everything is unique to that virtual machine. Only infrastructure is something that is shared between virtual machines. Each virtual machine has its own operating system, its own settings, bins, labs, application, data, everything that we put in it. It's unique to that specific virtual machine. Now, with the containers, we are eliminating that step. We are basically operating system components are shared between the containers as well, because some unique settings or not unique, some general settings that we have are going to be reused by every container that we deploy on our infrastructure. So by doing that, we have a much more footprint, because right now we are just moving around libraries and applications, and we are not moving like gigabytes of operating system information, different settings on operating system, and so on. So with the building containers, like on layer one, we have an operating system. In this example, I'm taking like Windows Server, but it can work with any operating system whatsoever. So if you're running some kind of web application, we're going to have a Windows operating system. Then on top of that, we're going to have IIS probably, and then ASP.NET. Now this part is going to be probably reshared by multiple containers, because if we are deploying web applications, each of them is going to have these components used. And the last part that we kind of just want to move around is just that last layer where we deploy applications. So that layer is going to be kept in container and on top of everything. To work with containers, there's a component that we call container registry. So it's basically a repository for storing container images. Like every container that we build has its own image, and this is the part that we're going to deploy in any kind of environment. This image is that portable part that carries the important information about our specific application. There are multiple public registries. We have Docker Hub. It's free. It's easy to use. We have also options for different private registries. We have options for secure storage. But let's stick to this part and actually like see how containers work. Container registry works on Azure. So let's deploy Azure Container Registry. We're going to create a new resource group for this, easy set PG. Let's try the same name. Will it work? Is anyone using it? No? Okay, good. For the location, I'm going to choose something closer to me, West Europe. We have different SKUs, basics, standard, premium. I'm going to use basic. I don't want to waste too much money on this for the demo. Okay, one thing I want to like for the networking part, you can see that public endpoint is the only option I have right now. If I wanted to use private endpoints, I would have to go with the premium. So premium SKU basically supports private endpoints as well. So you don't have to expose your container registry, and it can be kept on private network. But no need for that right now. So I'm just gonna go to that. We have also options to do custom encryption if we want to use our own Azure Key Vault to encrypt container registry. Again, something that's supported in basic. Tags are optional. Basically, you can do review and create. Let's create it. And deployment of this usually finishes real quickly. Okay, we are done. So let's go to resource. We have our container registry up and running. We have a couple of options, like we can see the information about it, login server. We can manage access keys for it. Okay, you can actually, I'm using a plugin, Easy Mask. If you're using Microsoft Edge, you can enable this, and basically it can help you manage secrets when you're presenting. So Easy Mask, if I toggle it, okay, so it's good. I can see the Azure registry name, I can see the login server, and I can also enable add user if this is something that I require. Okay, so we're good on that. I mentioned already encryption. Not supported on this queue. Identity, we can use managed identity if required to manage our container registry. Now, import networking, we also mentioned it's part of the premium SKU only. We can see if there's any connection to repositories. It's empty right now. We just created it. Same things with webhooks, replication tasks. So we can like manage those here as well and see if this is our container registry is connected to any kind of repository, if we have any kind of webhooks to push information and so on. We'll see those information in a bit when we like connect this to different services. Okay, so let's move on. And see what kind of options we actually have with containers in Azure. So there are several different things, like we have app services, service fabric, Azure Kubernetes service, we have container instances, and finally we have batch, which is kind of one-off, but it also supports container options. So probably the oldest service when it comes to container in Azure is Service Fabric. It supports both Windows and Linux containers. It's stateless and it supports stateless and stateful microservices. It deploys both on Azure Stack, and it has support for on-premises. So you can basically deploy it anywhere. Now, when it comes to Service Fabric, it's one of the cool things about Azure. It was like the one of the first container services available publicly anywhere on any cloud. It's really stable. It's really mature service. It's interesting information that a lot of Azure services are running Service Fabric in the background. So you might not be aware of it, but like many of the services that you might be using is using Service Fabric, Azure Service Fabric as a backbone. Now, the only downside of Service Fabric as itself is it's pretty limited to Microsoft technology stack. It supports .NET applications, it supports Java, but it can work with some other programming languages, but it's not fully supported, and it's not out of the box solution, so it requires tinkering and workarounds. So that's kind of like, as I said, the only downside of Service Fabric for me. Next one is Azure Container Instances. This is the second container service that came to Azure, and It's easy to deploy. It integrates well with Microsoft technology stack, with Azure DevOps, with other Azure services. It's cost effective, but it has a downside. It's not fully managed. So basically, scaling and other things you need to have a workaround. You have to set up your own monitoring and things. So it's not fully managed service, and it's can be, especially if you have a complex clusters with a lot of services running, it can be a little complicated to operate. Now, one of my favorite services ever on Azure, and it's one of the first Azure services that was publicly released, is Azure App Service. And I'm really excited that Azure App Service supports containers now. As a first step, it supported only Linux containers, but now it supports Windows containers as well. So it's really cool, fully managed service. It supports really cool features like we have way to easy accelerate outer loop. We can basically integrate it with different container registries. We can also built in CI/CD. We have options for the deployment slots. We have built-in diagnostics and troubleshooting mechanisms. It's completely managed. I already mentioned that. It supports auto-scaling and load balancing. It has a high availability with self-healing and auto-patching. It has a built-in backup and recovery as a service. So really cool and easy to use. There are a lot of options when it comes to tools. You can basically manage it like with multiple tools. Anything that can be used to manage Azure is available, from Azure CLI, PowerShell. You can use Portal, ARM templates, whatever. Also, it integrates well with a variety of developer tools like Visual Studio, IntelliJet, Maven, whatever. You can work with it, and it's very well supported. Okay, so let's look at this one for a bit and see how can we set it up. So let's create a new web app. So we're going to select the same resource group. We're going to name it AZ-SAT-BG. Okay, now the default options is to run code where you just select technology stack or whatever. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to select Docker. I can use either Linux or Windows. As I said, Windows is available option as well. I'm going to use location closer to me. Okay, let's leave the default plan. That's fine. Okay, so now what I have here is options for Docker. So I can do a single container, or I can do a Docker Compose, which is also an option. Now, if I do any of this, I can, like, if I do Azure container registry, then I can select an image from my container and automatically pull the image from the container registry. However, I'm not, like, our container registry is empty right now, so I'm just going to leave it like a quick start and leave it at that. For the monitoring options, we can we don't have application insight supported for this particular runtime, but it can work with the application insight SDK if we add it to our application. Tags are optional and we don't need it for the demo, and we just create. Okay, this is probably gonna take a minute, so let's move on. and discuss what we know about Kubernetes and Azure, or Azure Kubernetes Service. So Azure Kubernetes Service is fully managed Kubernetes service. It supports elastic provisioning, so you can auto-scale. You have fast end-to-end deployment development. It's really cool that it supports identity and access management with Azure Active Directory. Basically, you can use role-based access controls. You can basically manage it with or use managed identity as well. So basically, this supports integration with Active Directory. It helps you a lot when you're managing a lot of clusters, a lot of services. Using the custom username and password is perfectly fine for our demo and having one or two AKS instances running. But basically, when it reaches multiple instances across environments and so on, it can come quite a drag and an issue to manage those secrets, manage those passwords, and having integration with the directory helps there a lot. It also supports orchestration across 29 different regions. Actually, I'm not sure when I updated this might not be like very accurate anymore. When it comes to Azure, you can just count on one thing, things are going to change. So the number is probably higher right now. It also supports Azure Stack and supports IoT. So when it comes to Azure Kubernetes Service, we have a lot of nice, cool orchestration things. We have options to do scheduling, so we can schedule tasks like we can schedule auto scaling. We can schedule certain maintenance tasks as well. It supports affinity and anti-affinity. It has built-in health monitoring and failover. So basically, it monitors what is happening with your nodes. Are they healthy, available? If not, they have auto recovery and failover. It supports auto scaling based on usage. We can manage networking stack. We have options to do service discoveries and have coordinated app upgrades. Okay, so let's go back to our app service and see what we have in here. Actually, let's do one thing other. I just figured out it will be some waiting. So let's do Kubernetes built up first. So let's create Kubernetes service, because it will take a few minutes to actually complete this. So we can set it up. Okay. And for some reason, loading takes forever. What is going on? Kubernetes service. Let's see. Okay, so this is good. Finally loading. Let's call it the same easy. Application is good. We're gonna just leave the zones, the Kubernetes version. Other ones are available, but we'll leave it at default. We can set up the node size, and we can set up the number of nodes that can be deployed. Okay, for the node pools, we can add additional ones if required. For the authentication, we can use existing service principal, or we can just create a managed identity for this one. We'll leave it at that. Role-based access controls, as I said, is enabled. We can also do AKS managed Azure Active Directory if required. Encryption type, by default, it's a platform managed key, but we can encrypt it with our own keys using Azure Key Vault. On the networking side, it creates a network. We'll just leave the network on the defaults. Integration with Log Analytics workspace. We can also hook it up directly to container registry, but I will not do that right now. I'll just leave it at that. Review, create. Okay, deployment started. It will take a while, as I said. So let us go to resource groups and find our Azure App Service that we previously created, and go through that one. So we have that one already. Okay, so as I mentioned, it supports a lot of cool things. We have diagnose and solve problems, so we can like troubleshoot the issues and set up auto-healing if required. So basically, if Azure App Service detects any kind of issue, it can initiate self-healing process. In the scale out option, we can manage on how our container application on App Service is going to scale to a custom scale rules. And we can say that, let's say that we want to add a metric rule that will, let's say, if CPU consumption is over 70% for more than 5 minutes, increase the instance by 1. And that will create our rule. So basically, every time CPU reaches 70%, it will automatically add additional instance. Okay, we're still creating for some reason. This should be more quickly. Okay, that's good. Azure portal hates me today. It just refuses to do what I tell him. Okay, I know what it is. Never mind. Anyway, you can add the issue that I'm having is I'm deploying Kubernetes service to the same resource group, so it will not let me create anything else at a time, because it also it's already deploying something. So even this change, when I'm adding custom rules to the same to the resources in the same resource group, it sees it as another deployment, and it will not allow it at a time. So basically, you get a picture. You can basically add custom rules that will based on performance, based on resource utilization, it will add resources. However, don't forget about adding the scale out rules as well. Basically, if you have a scale out rules that are increasing the number of instances, like when you reach the maximum number of instances, it will just stay on that number. So if you have set up that you want to go up to 5 instances, it will reach 5 instances and keep running 5 instances. You have to consider adding scale down rules where you basically remove instances when the utilization drops down as well. Okay, we can see that we have also container settings here because we are running containers. So it has some kind of information. We can hook it up to specific Azure Container Registry. We can set it up with a Docker Hub, or we can use a private registry if needed. But let's look how it looks from a DevOps perspective and how can we actually deploy our code to that. So I have a very simple application here. Let me just check. This is just Node.js hello world, one pager, just a simple option just to see how it works. We have a Docker file in here, so it's ready for containerization and everything. So let's move to the pipelines and see how can we set up the deployment. So let's create pipeline. And it has basically 2 options. Default one today is YAML. That will create a YAML file, YAML build for you. And you can use classic editor. If I do the YAML, it'll say, okay, which repository do you want to use? I want to use this one. It recognizes that I have a YAML file there already. It will read it, and basically I'm ready to go. Only thing that I need to do here is change information about container registry. So basically, if I edit container registry information, I'm good to go, and I can start building. I kind of don't like presenting on the YAML file. They are really cool. Why? Because you're treating your pipelines as a code. You can track them in the same way you're tracking the code changes. You can see who changed the pipeline, what was, when was it changed. You can enforce pull requests on it and so on. So basically, it's a really cool way of doing pipelines. And also, what is good about it is if you move your code to a different location, to a different repository, your pipelines are moving with you. You don't have to build them from scratch. You can just use existing YAML files and start deployment right away. Just like environment settings need to be edited a bit, but that's all that is required. I'm gonna return to the pipelines and I'm going to do a classic one. I'm going to do it because it's a bit clearer on what I'm doing and what's needed. So if I go to the classic, again, same situation. I need to select the repository that I want to use, and then I have some options on how I can set up my build. I want to do a Docker container. So from the Docker container, I'm gonna do like, okay, I need to set, I want to build image, but I need to provide Azure container. I have a few options, like I can do Azure container registry or container registry. If I do container registry, then I need to provide information about Docker container and so on. For the Azure container registry, I just select my Azure subscription. And it will offer me all container registries, Azure container registries in there. Same thing for the push build. So basically this step will build image and this one will push it. So let's do the same thing. I will select my subscription. I will set up container registry and I'm good to go. I can just save and queue and my build will start. Now, if I go to my resource group, I can see like in the container registry, where is the pipeline? It's running. I can see some changes here. Oh, it's still not pushing. Never mind. Okay, still building an image. I deliberately created this really small application, so this process will not take as much time. But for some reason, Azure really hates me today, and everything is slower than expected. So it should not take. Okay, the build is done. We're pushing image. Okay, all good. So finally done. We created a build. We pushed it to our container registry. Now let's quickly do a release. And I'm going to create a new pipeline. And I'm just going to say deploy to Kubernetes cluster. So we need the connection. Let's create a new one. Azure subscription. Okay. Loading available Azure subscriptions. Okay, not this one. Sorry, 1 second. We need to select different one. Okay, this is the one. While we're waiting on that, one thing I want to show you is basically, okay, for the our Kubernetes service, we can see the Kubernetes service is also created. Yeah, deployment is done. But if you go to the resource group, and what is deployed here is still our app service and our container registry on only Kubernetes service. However, if I go back to the resource groups, there will be another resource group created called MC, and then our Azure Saturday Belgrade. This is where infrastructure for the Kubernetes service is kept. So basically what we have here is we have a public IP address, network security group, we have a route tables, virtual machine scale set, virtual network, managed identity, load balancer. So basically everything here is created in the background for us. Okay, this is still loading clusters. Why? Oh, it really hates me today. Let me try again. Let's move back completely and say, okay, we want to do a new release. We'll do deploy to Kubernetes. Let's say select tasks. Okay, new. and I have no idea what's going on. Oh, never mind. Basically, let's try using some of the existing. Will it recognize anything? No, it doesn't recognize anything. Love it when it happens like this. Okay, good one. The good thing with the Azure portal is the whole world looks much faster once you finish working with it. Good one. Let's try refreshing. I obviously have some issues this morning. While this is happening, I want to show you another cool way of deploying things to Azure. So let's go to Azure Saturday resource group, and let's go to our app service, which is also running containers. Now, to actually set this up, let's go to our deployment center. We have we have classic and we have deployment center. I'm just going to use this one. Let's go quickly. So I'm going to choose a repository. So I'm using Azure repos. It basically detected that I have a Docker repository. We're going to do application. Yeah, sure. Let's do next. It requires a container registry. We can create new one or use existing. We're going to use that one already existing. So let's deploy it. And this will start the process of building the pipeline for us. Now, let's move back to this one, and this is nothing is happening. So let's do a release, a new pipeline. Let's try, hopefully it will load now. So deploy to Kubernetes. Let's do a task. Let's do a new connection. Okay. Can I just change this? Okay, and I have a authentication window. I want to use this one. I need to approve my MFA. That's done. Okay. Hopefully, okay, here it is. I have a cluster that I created. Namespace, let's do default. Service connection name is AZ Saturday BG, so I know what it is. Save. So basically, this is all I have to do. Oh no, I need to select the container registry. So I'm going to do this one, and I'm going to say use this container registry, and I'm good to go. So no, I'm just going to change it. I'm going to change this one to AKS manual CD, and we're going to just save it like this. Okay. Let's create a release quickly for this one. This is good. Okay. Let's see what happened here. Oh, this is still load. Okay, this is actually done. So let's go to pipelines first. So in the pipelines, I created one. I created this one that was 10 minutes ago. Another Azure Saturday BGCI was created for me. And if I go to edit, let's see the steps that were automatically created for me. So it's basically the same task I selected. Build an image, it automatically selected container registry. It pushed the image, and now to the releases. This is one that I created. This one was created automatically. So let's see what's going on with it. It's deploying, right? So it's in the process, but let's see what are the tasks. So what was created automatically for me. So let's edit this one. And let's see what are the tasks that are created. So it created Azure CLI task that will save container registry secrets and then use them during Azure web app on container deploy. So basically, this automatically created the process to select my my image and deploy it to Azure App Service. Now, for the second release, the one that I created, it's already done. No, sorry, wrong button. So the one that I created already done. So it succeeded. And if we go to our resource group and to our Kubernetes service and go to services and ingress, this is killing me today. Okay, here we are. Okay, deployed. So that one is good. Let's see what's going on with the other release. Okay, that one is completed as well. So I kind of messed up the deployment here because I deployed it to a local, all the services that I deployed are on local IP addresses. I didn't expose it publicly, so I cannot test it. Never mind. Let's look at least at this one. It's my mistake. I obviously created wrong load balancer when I was deploying. Let's look at this one. It should deploy just the hello world, and here it is. So the app was successfully deployed. Okay, finally, thanks to our sponsors. I don't know if we have any questions. And of course, big thank you at the end of the session.
Yes, big thank you, but you need to answer to some questions.
Of course, yeah. I'm not seeing any, but if you have some, sure.
I have a lot of questions for you, but that's for a private interaction.
That's for let's discuss that over steak one day. Yeah, hopefully soon.
Definitely. So, based on your experience, what is your recommendation for using not Kubernetes? Kubernetes is a separate part of that. For using just a simple kind of containers in Azure, because there are a lot of different options. You can use web app with containers. You can use Docker and virtual machine. You can use container instances. What is for smaller instances for just kind of learning, maybe for testing, developing? What is your recommendation based on your experience, of course?
Yeah, sure. So basically, for learning, you can run it on your own machine. Basically, it's really easy to install Docker and just start playing with it. But if you want like the cloud workloads and for more simple scenarios, I would choose to go with Azure Web App. running container, because it's really simple. It's easy to use. You don't have any kind of like management overhaul. You just deploy it and start using it. For more complex scenarios, like AKS is definitely a way to go, especially when you have like many microservices and you don't want to expose everything publicly and so on. So for those like more complex, more enterprise scenarios, AKS is definitely the option. But for like any smaller application and start playing with it, it's web app is definitely a good option.
And one interesting question, but please to be as short as possible. How is complicated to handle clients who want to have container workload, but they don't know what container is exactly?
Oh, those are long conversations. Like, yeah, we want this, like we want our applications to run on containers. We want to move to the cloud. Conversation that I had many times, but people don't understand that like containers are for microservice architecture. Like, it's not a really good option if you want to work with a monolith, and a lot of those discussions start from there. What do you have now? Yeah, we have this huge application that it's insanely complex, and it's everything in one solution, one one big app. People don't understand how basically cloud workloads work, what containers exactly are, and how they help you. So basically just porting that kind of solution to cloud will just create a huge mess. With auto scaling and auto provisioning and everything, it will just it will end up as a huge bill at the end of the month. You have to adjust your application, you have to re-architecture, and it can be a very long process in some cases.
Especially if it's C-level will say you from next month we will be on containers and we will be DevOps organization.
Yeah,
you know what I want to talk.
That's also like I'm a big proponent of DevOps, and I've seen that one as well. Like a C-level was on some management conference last week, and they come on Monday to work, and they call a meeting and say, from today we are DevOps. Yeah, it doesn't work like that. Same with containers, same thing.
So maybe next year we will be Azure Saturday DevOps conference if we ask C-level guys.
Yeah, don't. Just don't.
Okay, thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you. It was great to be here. I hope that we'll like be in person next year.
Yeah, we hope as well. Have a nice day and stay with us.
Enjoy, guys. Bye.
Bye.